Hi, I'm Shayla and welcome back to my channel. We are at the beginning of a new month. It is March of 2025. So I am here to do the monthly matcha. This is the first time that I am doing the monthly matcha, so I just want to go over what it is. So each month I plan on spilling the tea on what is going on with me in my writing as well as reading, and then maybe a little bit of lifestyle stuff if anything pops up. So I've got my matcha. I am ready to dive in. So the first area we are going to cover is writing. Because it is March, I am going to combine January and February together for this first drop of the monthly matcha. And then going forward, it should be just 1 month at a time. So we have a little bit more to cover this time than we normally would. Right before the new year, I completed the first draft of my current work in progress, and I am just calling it by its acronym, which is SDLH, and I completed that draft at 70,025 words. I was happy with that word count because I knew I had more to add, and I just needed to get like the bare bones out before I could put those extra pieces in. So being at 70,000 really left room for me to, I don't know why my voice is so scratchy. Finishing at 70,000 roughly allows me to add more without having too big of a word count, and also being at 70,000 lets me know that I will have a decent sized book. In the month of January, I worked on my first pass of revisions, and I basically went through the manuscript and each scene, because I had my work in progress separated by the Save the Cat beats, and that's how I wrote the novel using Scrivener. I had each beat listed as a folder within the binder of the manuscript, and I would write, the scene, and sometimes there'd be different drafts or different versions or extra notes as I was going through the rough draft, first draft version. And so for that first pass, I would go through each scene, write down the big points, and having written the whole book, I knew that if there was certain stuff that I had wrote in a scene that didn't correlate with where the book would end up going, I would take notes, take this out, add a little bit more detail here, that kind of thing. Also, in doing that, my writing group decided that we wanted to share each other's first 5,000 words, roughly around 4,000 or 5,000 words, so that we could critique, and that way when we met, because we meet every month, we could discuss each other's manuscripts and give each other feedback of what we could work on or what worked really well. So once I met with my group, I got that information. We talked about it during our meeting, but I held on to it because I was still working through that first pass of revisions. Once I went through the whole manuscript and made those notes for myself, I went back and in each scene really dove in and tore it apart and put it back together, and I added that little extra bit that I knew I was going to put in there, and that was another POV that was very pertinent to the story being told. So I had certain scenes open in different beats that I wanted to insert that person's POV. So that being said, in February, I completed my second draft of SDLH, and it brought my work in progress to a total of 82,929 words. So between the two drafts, that ended up being a difference of 12,904 words. That got us to the end of February. I finished the second draft of SDLH on February 28th, the last day of the month. So that was like a good marker for me to be at. And I met with my writing group, I think 2 days after, and I wanted to have a little bit more of a break in between drafts, but because I had already pre-planned to meet with them, I just took a day off, and we will get into in next month, which I guess is technically this month's monthly matcha, what I did there. So be on the lookout for that at the end of March. But I will share with you what is next. I am hoping to get through draft 3 in a couple of weeks and then send it along to some beta readers. I have 3 of my writer friends who are already on board to read it. And then I do have a couple friends and family members who would like to put their eyes on it as well. I have not decided if I will be giving it to them for this pass yet. And now it is time to dive into reading. Reading this year has been a little slow. I did talk about that in my book summary video that was posted right before this. I will link it in the description below. I did manage to get through 3 books between January and February, and I started a 4th but have not finished it yet. The book that was discussed in my book summary, and the only book I read in January for a book that I read for work, I think it's like The Coffee Bean or something. So that book I read in January was The Watchers by A.M. Shine. It's a little blurry, but hopefully you can see it. I will not get too much into it because I do have that book summary video that you can watch, but this was a really good book and probably my favorite M. Night Shyamalan adaptation that he did for this book. After I finished reading that, I tried to dive into Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. It is the 3rd installment in the Empyrean series. I pre-ordered this in March or May last year, so I was really excited for it to come out, but I was in such a reading slump that I think I only got through the first 60 pages, and it was like pulling teeth for me to read anything. But then I had a February book club and needed to read the book because I manage and host the book club. So the bi-monthly meetings are at my house, and I obviously need to read it, okay? So I didn't have a choice, and I pushed it to the last minute to start reading, and I'm so glad I did because I also started an audiobook, I want to say in January, and that is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. I am so sorry if I butchered that last name. And even with an audiobook, I was having a hard time. January was rough. It was a slow start. We've gotten better, and it is all owed to the book club book. And that is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Loved it, devoured it. I had 6 days to read it before book club, and I think I finished it in maybe 4 or 5. Not sure. It's on my Goodreads how long it took me, but it was within 6 days, and that for me, having a full-time job and working on a manuscript is really fast. I know a lot of people can read a lot faster, but that's fast for me. So, it was great. I'll get into it more in my book report video for February. which should be dropping next week, hopefully. I do have a lineup of things to come. So with that, we are going to move on to the third and final section of the monthly matcha, and that is life. As I've mentioned before, it has been a slow start to the year, so there's not anything like overly exciting that happened in January or February. I mean, there were some exciting things for sure, but there's not much yet. And March is proving to be even slower, and I am extremely happy about that because I just want to like be laser focused and on my book anyway, so I'm fine with it. January was a little rough there at the beginning. I was not happy. There was a good little bit there that I was not feeling okay. But we're gonna move on to some good things that happened in January and February because there were some good things, and it's always nice to have some good when you're not feeling super great about the future. Anyways, I did get to go see Grady Hendrix in Greenville, South Carolina on his tour for his newest release, and I got to hear him speak. His presentation was phenomenal, and then I stood in line for an hour to get my things signed. I did get 2 books signed and my book club sweatshirt because we had just read Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires back in October. I ended up with 2 of the book club sweatshirts, so I decided one of them was going to be my author signings sweatshirt. So I wish I would have thought of the idea with the 2 book signings I went to last year, because I did see Lisa Jewell and Tiffany D. Jackson, so I could have them sign it. But I hope to see them again sometime in the future, and I can get them to put their mark on that shirt as well. And I will have a Greenville vlog that I am going to post, so I will talk more about that book signing and show off those things I got on that video. One of the biggest things that happened to me in January, February is I finally got my passport. Yes, I had a passport when I was a child. I was born overseas. My dad was in the Air Force. So I have been to a good handful of places, but that passport expired years ago. We moved to Georgia when I was 10 years old. I am now 33, so it was time for me to get a passport, and I do plan to in the near future. I'm hoping this year. If I can't make it this year, it will be early next year. I'm putting it out there into the universe that it is going to happen in less than 12 months. But I am planning to go to Europe. I'm going to go to London, and during that time, I want to go back to the city that I was born in the UK, and I want to visit Ireland as well. So the passport was a must, and I wanted to make sure I got it before January 20th. And I did. So, great. The last good news that I got in my personal life updates, I found out that I was going to be an auntie again. My stepsister is having a little girl in August, and I need to find out when in August because I am an August baby. And if she is a Leo, she's gonna be great. So this little baby will bring my nieces and nephews count to 5. I currently have 2 nieces and 2 nephews, so I will now have 5, and the girls will outrank the boys. So That is it for the January and February monthly matcha. We will be back at the beginning of next month to cover March. I'll definitely have some more writing updates, some more reading, and because I can share with you, my book club already picked our book for April, but I will save that for the March monthly matcha. Yeah, so we'll get into all that stuff. March is at the moment a pretty laid back, chill month, so there might not be much to go in the life updates, but that's okay because I will have other things to share with you. Thank you for joining me while I spilled the tea on my life from January and February. If you've made it to the end of this video, please comment with the tea emoji and let me know what kind of videos y'all would like to see in the future. I have a few lined up, but I definitely want some suggestions. I want to give you what you want, and I would love to keep you here. So please don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Bye.